Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Now on a visit paid to Muscat, Oman, the Foreign Affairs Minister Mr. Attaf met with Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, who's hailed the role played by Algeria in the UN Security Council under the leadership of President Tebboune in defending the Palestinian cause. Algeria has expressed its wish to see support given by the members of the Security Council to the work of the International Criminal Court extended to other issues, calling for criminal proceedings to be dealt with any political manipulation. Palestinians everywhere in the world today commemorate the 76th anniversary of the Nakba of 1948, when nearly 750,000 native Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their homes in historic Palestine by invading Zionist militias. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic has received here in Algiers the Mayor of Marseille, Benoît Payan. The meeting has taken place in the presence of the Director of the Cabinet to the Presidency of the Republic, Bouhelem Bouhelem, the Wali of Algiers, Mohamed Abdelnour Rabhi.
Tout d'abord, je veux noter l'honneur qui est le mien ainsi que celui de ma délégation d'avoir été invité.
It's an honor for me to receive an invitation to visit Algeria and the capital Algiers. I had an interesting meeting with the President of the Algerian Republic who believes in a future. The Algerian President is a proud man, and I evoked with him the situation at the international level. We tackled the latest development prevailing in the world. We also talked about the visit that led us to Algeria and which is of prime importance.
Un regard d'avenir époustouflant.
That was the Mayor of Marseille, Benoît Payan. In Muscat, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, was received today by the Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq, who handed him the written message sent by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. The meeting was an opportunity to assess the Algerian-Omani relations at the political, economic, social and cultural levels, as well as the prospects of strengthening and consolidating them. The two sides exchanged views and analysis on developments in the Arab region, particularly with regard to the Palestinian issue, as well as the Sahel-Sahara region. Sultan Haytham bin Tariq held the role played by Algeria in the UN Security Council under the leadership of the President Tebboune in defense of the interest of the Arab nation and in support of its central cause, the Palestinian one. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, APN, Brahim Boughali, has held during a meeting of the APN Bureau, which he chaired, the dynamic that Algeria is experiencing, both internally and abroad, reviewing its positive impact at the social, economic and international levels. In his speech at the opening of the meeting of the APN Bureau, Brahim Boughali welcomed the decisions of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to increase retirement pensions and revise legal texts relating to the health corps, education, religious affairs and higher education teachers. He said that these measures enshrine the social nature of the Algerian state and highlighted long-term vision in setting priorities for the promotion of all sectors in order to achieve stability and social balance, welcoming at the same time the consular facilities for the diaspora and their direct impact in creating more links between this vital category and the homeland. The President of the APN spoke of Algeria's diplomatic achievements since its election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council, pointed out that these achievements were commensurate aspirations of the Arab peoples, notably in support of their central cause, Palestine. The Secretary-General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Lounès Magraman, has received here in Algiers the Regional Director of UNICEF for the Middle East and North Africa region, MENA, Adel El-Khodr. During this meeting, the two officials highlighted the excellent cooperation relations between Algeria and UNICEF and welcomed the progress made in implementing the country's program covering the period 2024 to 2027. The Secretary-General of the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Lounès Magraman, has received here in Algiers the World Food Programme's Deputy Executive Director for Programme and Policy Development, Mrs. Valérie Newsom Gardinieri. While hailing the long-standing commitment of the agency in favour of the Sahrawi refugees, the two officials hailed the excellent cooperation between Algeria and the World Food Programme, as well as the achievement of the visit, which will also be an opportunity to WFP delegation to visit the Sahrawi refugee camps near Tindouf. In this context, Mr. Magraman recalled the efforts made by Algeria for almost 50 years to offer the Sahrawi refugees protection and assistance in the spirit of solidarity and the Algerian tradition of hospitality and in accordance with its international obligation in this area. The Economic and Social Council's operational activities for development segment is meeting to provide overall coordination and guidance to the governing bodies of the United Nations Development System. Algeria's representative at the meeting spoke about the need for sustainable funding for the resident coordinator system.
On the funding, Algeria stressed the need for predictable and sustainable funding for the resident coordinator system, which is an essential condition for the resident coordinator to perform its function effectively. The current funding gap is not delivering optimally, with a considerable funding gap of $64 million out of a $281 million budget for the resident coordinator system last year. In this regard, we emphasize the need to continue engaging and working together on the best way to address this issue, and I would like to reiterate Algeria's firm support to the African Common Position based on a hybrid two-point model.
The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arkab, has received the Secretary General of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, GECF, Mohamed Hamel, who reaffirmed the GECF's appreciation of Algeria's successful and historic hosting of the 7th Summit of Heads of State and Government of the same organization. And now the Director General of the National Security Services, DGCSN, Ali Badawi, is on a working visit to the United States, accompanied by senior officials from the GECN. Algeria has expressed its wish to see the support given by the members of the Security Council to the work of the International Criminal Court, ICC, extended to other issues relating notably to the violations in the occupied Palestinian territories and the mass graves in the Gaza Strip, calling for criminal proceedings to be dealt with without any political manipulation. Algeria's permanent mission to the United Nations stressed at a Security Council meeting on Libya that Algeria condemned the crimes committed, whoever the perpetrator and whoever the victims were, affirming that the principle of non-impunity constitutes one of the most important principles for Algeria and must be guide for the international community and the ICC in the face of all the crimes committed in the world. Palestinians everywhere in the world today commemorate the 76th anniversary of the Nakba of 1948, when nearly 750,000 native Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their homes in historic Palestine by invading Zionist militias. Majid Mila harks back to this historic injustice whose repercussions are still visible today.
This year marks 76 years of a Nakba, or the Palestinian experience of dispossession and loss of a homeland. The anniversary comes at a time when many people around the globe are angered by the ongoing Zionist aggression on the besieged Gaza Strip since October 7, 2023, which has so far killed more than 35,000 Palestinian civilians, most of them children and women, and injured more than 79,000, while thousands of victims remain under the rubble. The Zionist war machine does not stop. From the Nakba of 1948 to the deluge of Al-Aqsa, it has continued its massacres and atrocities against the Palestinian people, using every means possible to wipe out their existence, particularly in the Gaza Strip, but this was without continuing on the resistance and resilience of the native populations. The aggression against Gaza, which has been going on for more than 7 months, is reminiscent of the Nakba of 1948 in many respects, in that it targets the Palestinian people, victims of the most despicable crimes, including forced disappearance and the denial of the refugees' right of return, and it is attempting to alienate their identity in order to take over the entire region.
On the occasion of the commemoration of the Nakba, the member of the political bureau of the Hamas resistance movement, Bassem Naim, told Radio Algeria International that the defeat of the Israeli occupation is possible and liberating Palestine is soon.
تمر علينا هذه الذكرى في ظروف مختلفة تماما.
We are commemorating under totally different circumstances. For the first time in the history of the conflict, the Palestinian people have decided to stand up against the enemy and strike. The 7th of October glorious operation was a proof that the liberation of Palestine is possible and defeating the Zionist entity is reachable. The enemy is weaker than it appears. This year we are expecting the victory. Our arrival to Jerusalem is inevitably imminent, God willing.
قريبا بإذن الله.
Mr. Bassem Naim held Algeria's support with the Palestinian people at the international scene.
وبهذه المناسبة فإننا نتوجه بكل الشكر والتقدير.
On this occasion, we extend all our thanks and appreciation to everyone who stood with us, supported us, and assisted us in this battle throughout the past 76 years. Above all, we thank Algeria, leadership, parliament, people, men and women, who have stood since the beginning of the Algerian Revolution with Palestine. Algeria is still up to this moment fighting and struggling on behalf of Palestine on international fora, in the Security Council, in international courts, at the political and media levels, in addition to the efforts being made at the Algerian internal level to support Palestine and its people, so that we will soon celebrate the great victory, God willing.
حتى نحتفل قريبا بالنصر الكبير إن شاء الله.
Meanwhile, the head of the Palestinian Spanish Federation, Adel Sheikh Youssef, has praised the courage of the people of Gaza in the face of the enemy.
76 سنة على النكبة في
It
فلسطين.
is 76 years since the Nakba took place in Palestine, since the fall of Palestine. In 76 years, we witnessed the revolution of the Palestinian people, the Intifada, the 1967 defeat, and the 1973 defeat. Today, in 2024, we see how the people of Gaza are resisting all the armies of the world for over 8 months now.
أمام كل جيوش العالم صامدين فوق ال8 شهور.
That was the head of the Palestinian Spanish Federation, Adel Sheikh Youssef. The Arab Interparliamentary Union, AIPU, has said that the 76th anniversary of the Palestinian Nakba should be a catalyst for all free people in the world to act to remedy the historic injustice committed against the Palestinian people, calling for stepping up efforts at Arab, regional and international levels to denounce firmly the despicable policies of the Zionist entity aimed at widening the cycle of massacres and violence in the region and the world. In a statement signed by its president, Brahim Bughali, the AIPU reiterated its solidarity with the Palestinian cause, being the beating heart of the Arab and Muslim identity and the main driving force behind the march towards national liberation, development and civilization in the region. The consultative summits of the ulamas of the Islamic world have affirmed in Istanbul, Turkey, that the Palestinian people's struggle and resistance against the Zionist entity is legitimate and honorable, adding that supporting the struggle and acting to put an end to the genocide committed against the Palestinians are our responsibility and an act of faith. The details with Said Bourassi.
The final communique of the summit held from 12 to 14th May, in which Algeria was represented by the Minister of Religious Affairs and Waqf, Youssef Belmehdi, reads, "The struggle of the Palestinian people who are courageously resisting the occupation of their territories is a legitimate and honorable struggle from the religious, moral and international law points of view." It added that supporting this struggle and acting to put an end to the genocide is a responsibility and a religious act for every Muslim. The summit was held at a delicate time in view of the latest developments in the world, particularly in occupied Palestine, in addition to the threats to the unity of the Muslim nation, the same source recalled. The summit also condemned the inhumane Zionist policies and genocide committed over the past 75 years on Palestinian land with perversity and vengeance, which are likely to lead the world towards a catastrophe, stressing the imperative need to put an immediate immediate end to the Zionist terrorist organization which is mercilessly killing thousands of innocent Gazans with the support of the imperialist powers. The millions of voices throughout the world, from the academic community to non-governmental organizations as well as those of believers of different religions against the Zionist barbarity in Gaza, were hailed on this occasion. The summit also called for raising the awareness of the Muslim nation in order to preserve its unity, enshrine moderate Islam, and protect new generations against all forms of extremism. To this end, the communique added it is important to give priority to various fields such as education, science, culture and publishing, as well as to the production of audio-visual and digital works on the values, principles and precepts of Islam for their dissemination throughout the world. A number of themes were discussed at the summit, including building awareness of the Muslim nation to face contemporary challenges, agendas that threaten peace and human security, Islamophobia, in addition to a focus on the strategy of discourse and joint action against extremism that threatens the Muslim nation.
The Minister of Religious Affairs, Yusuf Bilmehdi, has met in Istanbul, Turkey, the President of the Religious Affairs of the Republic of Turkey, Sheikh Ali Erbas. During the meeting, the two parties reviewed the historic and secular relations linking the two countries and peoples and discussed ways and means of reinforcing cooperation in the field of religious affairs, in addition for the preparations for the signing of a bilateral cooperation agreement. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the ministers' participation in the consultative summit of the ulamas of the Islamic world. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, has reported that around 550,000 Gazans have been forcibly displaced from the city located in the far south of the Gaza Strip under the Zionist evacuation ordered since May 6. That's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to a special program on the 76th anniversary of the Nakba of 1948 by my colleague Saïd Bourazi.